The shades I'm wearing will forever remind me that I am blessed and lucky. That family is the best. That family, relatives, and friends will always be there. The shades I'm wearing reminds me to love life and appreciate the smallest of things. To live life to the fullest. That life is short and in an instant can be taken away. These shades will remind me that the miracles do happen. I am one. These shades will remind me that prayers work. And I owe a lot. I owe it big time to my family, friends, and relatives. These shades will remind me that I have to pay it forward. Of how beautiful it is to watch the sunset and the moon and the stars at night. The shades will forever remind me of the night of May 20, 2012, when I felt something pop in my head. And the shades will remind me of the last basketball game I played with my friends, somewhere around C3 Caloocan, where I was shaking. I could not dribble, I could not even shoot the ball. The shades will remind me of the time that I can't move for a month and was stuck in Isa's room. That I hate bright lights. And of the time I miss taking my son Diego to his first day in school and watching him wear his first uniform. The shades will remind me of those times where Doc James Lau, Wewel De Leon, and Dennis Macalintal will visit me and check on me. The shades will also remind me of the time Dainty will look for Sydney to check on my dextrose. The shades will remind me of the time where I wish I was in then Congressman and now Mayor Oka Malapita's birthday so I can be proclaimed as his bet for councilor in the 2013 election. The shades will remind me of my decision to be taken to a hospital after 29 days. I felt something May 20. I was in the hospital June 19. How stupid. Okay? These shades will remind me of that long trip to Fort Bonifacio and then to Cardinal Santos Hospital, and of how hard it was for me to lay down and the irritating sound while inside the tube of the MRI. These shades will remind me of that time when my question was, mamamatay na ba ako? Upon hearing that I had to be confined and Mama and Dainty were nowhere to be found, only to learn later that they were crying. These shades will remind me of how hard life was for Dainty and my kids, Anishka, Diego, and Antonina. These shades will remind me of how Mama, Papa, and Ate took good care of me. Of how Papa Dimple, Mama One, Debian, Diony, and Isa took care of Dainty and Kagona. These shades will remind me of the time where all my loved ones were in the hospital to visit me. These shades will remind me of the time when I heard the doctor said I might die, that there's no other way but to cut open my brain. These shades will remind me of the time when the doctor said that if I live and survive the operation, I might be a vegetable all my life, I might lose my memory, I might lose my speech. These shades will remind me of the date of my operation, which was June 23, 2012. And of my suddenly incredible ears that I can hear everything, even from another room. The shades will remind me of the voices of my hospital visitors, my friends, my relatives. I can remember them even when I am asleep. The shades will remind me of how hard it was for me to have an MRI because I was always throwing up. Lagi akong sumusuka. These shades will remind me of the priest who heard my confession the night before my operation and answered all my questions and doubts. These shades will remind me of my experience of being in a wheelchair in a hospital bed where I can't fit. These shades will remind me of the doctors who operated on me and their distinctive voice. These shades will remind me of the morning of my operation when I was taken from my room, that it was all black and cold. The shades will remind me of the time when I was seeing a lot of things. Shiny objects, coffins, oceans, clear skies, clouds, everything. Just everything you find in the movies. These shades will remind me of the time when I was in the ICU, of the time when I was unconscious and can hear everything and know what was happening, but my eyes were closed and I have no movement. These shades will remind me of the day the nurses and doctors talk about my neighbors in the ICU. They were talking about how one patient's children were fighting over the assets that would be left behind. These shades will remind me of the time when my cousin Eunice visited me and knew it was her birthday on that day, June 24. I knew I was sleeping, then I blurted out, "Happy birthday, Eunice." These shades will remind me of the time I opened my eyes and feeling all the tubes attached to my body. Every hole in my body has a tube. These shades will remind me of the sad feeling when I want to move any part of my body but cannot. These shades will remind me the moment when I heard that it was OKC and not the Spurs who entered the NBA Finals of 2012. These shades will remind me the moment when I asked softly the ICU nurses who won the NBA game between Miami and Oklahoma. These shades will remind me the scary moment when doctors asked me to sit, but cannot sit, and cannot even move, and have to be helped. These shades will remind me of those days my ate was with Dainty in the hospital. These shades will remind me of the nurses who checked on me, of the time the nurse would clean me and change my diaper, of the painful catheter in my pototoy, of the times when the nurse will tell me, "Huwag ka na umiyak," when I was humming in a very low and hard to produce sound the songs "Lead Me Lord" and "Salamat sa iyo." These shades will remind me of the Holy Cross opposite my bed. These shades will remind me of the taste of yogurt and grapes. That's all I eat. These shades will remind me of my annoying double vision, which I still have until now. These shades will remind me the time when I have no idea where my family will get the money for my operation, medicine, and payment for the nurses and hospital bills. The time when money from loved ones, friends came pouring in. The days when I was supposed to be discharged from the hospital but they won't allow me because I still have a balance. The shades will remind me of Dainty going to the PCSO early in the morning to get a guarantee letter but ended up with nothing because the hospital did not honor it, because I was already discharged. These shades will remind me of all my friends who helped process the important documents that I needed for this operation, PCSO and DSWD, all my friends from the Caloocan City Hall. These shades will remind me of my very first heart therapy. I can even sit or stand, I can even move a thing. These shades will remind me of my trip to Pampanga, from Cardinal Santos to Pampanga, to my hometown. These shades will remind me of my room in my Auntie Esther and Uncle Siling's house, of the weekends Dainty and Kagona will visit me, of how scared Diego and Antonina were, of how I look. These shades will remind me of my pretty and handsome cousins, all tall ones, aunties and uncles, cooking and buying food for me, giving me massage, bathing me, carrying me, cheering me up, playing tong-its in front of my bed, and the every weekend inuman sessions with my cousins. These shades will remind me of my Auntie Trini sleeping beside me, waking me up in every sound I make, feeding me, preparing my sandwich at 5 a.m., my favorite egg sandwich, and handing me my urinal bottle. Of the times when I would crawl out of my bed and find ingenious ways to secretly reach my ruffles across my bed. These shades will remind me of my urinal bottle where I used to pee while lying in bed. Of my favorite meal when I was in Pampanga, tomato, embutido, danggit, and sansribal of my Auntie Son. These shades will remind me of my dreaded bath time. All my big cousins lifting me up, carrying me to the toilet, bathing me. These shades will remind me of those times I need to poo-poo and wait for Dainty to clean me up. The shades will remind me of my nephews and nieces in Pampanga, tickling my feet and singing and dancing for me. The shades will remind me of the scary moment when suddenly my left eye can't see anymore. My left ears went blank and all my left side went numb. The shades will remind me of my rocker therapist, long hair therapist who would let me listen to his iPod. The shades will remind me of the smell of fresh air and the sound and smell of pigs. It's just across my room. The shades will remind me of the radio program Radio Veritas. The shades will remind me of the late nights my mama and papa will visit me from Pampanga back to Caloocan. The shades will remind me of the weekends I will get visitors and hear their weeps, secretly crying. They don't know I can hear them. The shades will remind me of my youngest daughter Antonina's second birthday party in Pampanga. The theme was Minnie Mouse. The shades will remind me of the Sundays where lay ministers will have me receive the Holy Communion while lying in bed. The shades will remind me of the damn days I have to be brought from Pampanga to the hospital for my MRI and CT scan. The shades will remind me of those times I throw up on a tabo with plastic. Of the time I was throwing up while crying and shouting while in a wheelchair outside Pancake House in Cardinal Santos Hospital. Of the times I cried and shouted while in a mobile hospital bed along the corridors of the hospital. The shades will remind me of the night before my second operation where everyone was crying again. Of my second operation on November 15, 2012 where they drilled 4 holes to attach a device while I was awake. The shades will remind me of the question my doctors asked me, "Kaya mo pa ba?" And I answered, "Tuloy nyo lang, Doc," while crying. The shades will remind me of all my friends in the fashion industry for my benefit show, Fashion from the Heart. Directors, production assistants, designers, models, agency owners, Uno Pesiria. The shades will remind me that being sick is expensive. The shades will remind me that I used to walk like a zombie during that time. I still look like a zombie now. The shades will remind me of all the times I would cry after throwing up and saying, "Ayoko na, pagod na ako, gusto ko na mamatay." The shades will remind me of the 6 months I was throwing up daily, 2 to 4 times a day. Of all the sleepless nights I pray and pity myself and cry. Of all the times I would ask God, "Why me?" The shades will remind me of that feeling when I want to lift my kids and play with them but cannot. The shades will remind me of all the people who visited me in the hospital. I can recall each one of you even when I'm asleep. I am asleep but my brain is functioning and I can hear your voice. The shades will remind me of all the loved ones and friends who helped and prayed for me. All of you will be forever in my heart and prayers. The shades will remind me that I owe a lot to so many people, that I need to be a good man, and that I am a miracle. And I thank you all. I'm still alive. I promise to pay it forward. I promise to be a good man. I promise to be of service to all people. Thank you very much, and God bless everyone.